deportation relief.
Yeah!
Well, I would like to thank my colleagues, Congresswoman Zoe Lockman, who will be here in just a few minutes, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, Congresswoman Judy Chu, who will not be here this morning with us just because of sickness, and Congresswoman Ayana Presley, and our 14 original co-sponsors. All of them.
Yeah!
Grant much needed protection to refugees from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Between 1975 and 2008, our nation resettled over 1.2 million refugees from these countries. We had a sacred responsibility to support these refugees. Many of them or their families were partners in the conflict, which defined the recent history. They were American allies and partners in the conflict, which defined the recent history of the region. Others were victims of the instability shaped by American policy decisions and outcomes. But the story does not end when a refugee arrives in the United States. Refugees have built successful and thriving communities that have benefited all of us. I'm proud to represent, as I mentioned earlier, some of the largest and most vibrant diaspora communities in the United States. But refugees have also struggled with the legacy of trauma. Many experienced the horrific conditions of war, of genocide, and persecution. Mental health when they arrived was not available and was unavailable. Many experienced poverty and hardship. Many were not adequately supported on their arrival to the United States. For some, this led to difficulties with the criminal legal system. Since 1998, over 17,000 Southeast and Asian Americans have been given a final order of removal. That's 17,000 have been given this order of removal, and 15,000 still live in the United States under the final order, living with this hanging over their head. Many of these orders are decades old. That is just wrong. Our nation has an obligation to protect all of the refugees and make them welcome. Why should a person who has built a life in the United States, who has community ties, who has responsibilities and people who count on them, be ripped away and sent to a country they no longer know or maybe never heard of? In our system, a person can make a mistake. They can pay their debts to society, and then they can go on to build a new future. They should not be stripped of everything and everyone that they ever knew and be deported to a society where they no longer belong and may not even remember. Furthermore, it is profoundly wrong for us to send refugees back to countries where their human rights are not protected and guaranteed. Our legislation will end these unjust deportations once and for all.
Yeah!
Today we're going to hear directly from impacted members of our community to understand why this bill is necessary. We will hear from colleagues of mine who have joined the fight to protect our most vulnerable population. And we will hear from the courageous advocates who have made this bill possible. I would like to now introduce Quinn Din, the Executive Director of the Southeast Asia Resource Action Center, or SEARR. Welcome to the podium.
Yeah!
Good morning, everyone. I am so honored and so glad conference. This is a big day for our community. It's taken so long for us to be here today to celebrate the historic introduction of the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act of 2022. Today, we stand proud with over 140 organizations from 19 states representing every region of our country. From the West Coast, make some noise here from the West Coast.
Yay!
From the Midwest.
Woo!
East Coast.
Woo!
Yeah, South.
Yeah!
And the District of Columbia, where we're home today. Together, we're here to fight for our right to family and our right to heal. With our over 15,000 Southeast Asian American community members with final orders of deportation, a story we know too dear, who are part of the largest refugee crisis the world has ever seen, coming out of U.S. involvement in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. They are part of the 1.2 million who fled war-torn countries like my parents, who risked their lives not knowing if they would live or die so that today I could be free. This is our community's unique American legacy, the largest community of refugees ever resettled in America. With our over 15,000 community members, we support this bill that sees our people, the refugees, who are uniquely devastated by our immigration policies, from final orders of removal for crimes of poverty, youth, survival, served decades ago, that weren't equipped at home or at school to help heal from the traumas of war, genocide, displacement, poverty, and racism. With this bill, we hold our community members close, and the decision you make to transform, to bring love into our communities, the soulmates you marry, the beautiful children you brought into this world, and the refugee parents you take care of every single day. We know the trauma and injustice you experience daily for decades, not knowing in one day you'll be ripped apart from your family, what countries you fled as a refugee. That's why today, in partnership with the Southeast Asian Freedom Network, CFEN,
Yeah!
we are so proud to support a bill that centers the lived experience of our impacted families, that address the unique harms of Southeast Asian Americans, to restore your right to family, your right to work, to feed, to house, and protect your family, your right to peace, procedures as part of the largest refugee community ever resettled in America. This bill just isn't a historic legislative moment, but a community victory to write our own community solutions that extend equity and justice in America. We fought for bills that we will lead to allow these individuals, and we fought hard in partnership with members of Congress to expand it for our Cambodian American community members. Today, this bill provides relief to communities from all three countries, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and in doing so, expands justice for more Southeast Asians. This bill is a huge step forward, a testament to our community's power, and part of our longer fight for justice and healing. Thank you, Congressman Lowenthal, Congresswoman Cochran, Congresswoman Jayapal, Congresswoman Chu, and Congresswoman Presley for your leadership and partnership in our communities, and to our congressional supporters. Thank you for fighting back against injustice to the Southeast Asian community by fighting for individuals' days of removal that have kept families together. And today, we're fighting for long-term policies like the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act that creates a new America. An America that recognizes support to refugees doesn't span just arrival, but the generations it takes to heal and honor the strength and resilience that our communities of survivors have contributed to building a beautiful and just America. Thank you.
Yeah!
Thank you, Quinn. I would like to now recognize and spend time with some members of Congress as they've arrived. But now I'd like to recognize Justin Kwong, who is going to share his experiences. It's really important that we begin to understand the experiences of the people that are affected by this bill. Justin.
Yeah!
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Nguyen. My family and I resettled in Jacksonville, Florida on October 31st, 1995, after my parents tried to flee Vietnam in 1979. which is the year my father was released from re-educational prison. Like many other Southeast Asian family, we had little support. My family struggled. We tried to live in the American dream, but my parents didn't understand the financial implication. My dad became severely in debt. Even though I was a good student, I got into college, but I have worked 3 jobs trying to pay off my dad's debts. But it never went down. During this period, with a weak mind, I was lured into a wrong path. So in 2006, I was convicted of a drug-related charge. I was arrested the week I was supposed to take the oath to become a U.S. citizen. Had I taken the oath even one day before my arrest, the story would be very different. Instead, I was never able to naturalize, and after I finished my 2.5 year sentence, I was immediately transferred to ICE for deportation proceeding. We tried to make the case that I was a U.S. national who could not be deported, but the immigration judge kept rescheduling my hearing. I was so tired of being detained, and after 13 months in ICE custody, I gave up and took a deportation order. Luckily, Vietnam refused to take me back, and in April 2010, I was finally released from ICE detention. Since then, I have rebuilt my life entirely and become a lawful citizen. I own several nail salons and also a real estate agent myself. Got married and became a father of 2 beautiful angels. But early one morning in March 2017, a month before my son's first birthday, I suddenly show up at my house and arrested me. They did not release me until entirely years later. While I was in custody, I started seeing other Vietnamese individuals get deported from Prom and Stewart detention facility. I organized others around me, got their story and information to organizations helping people like me, and eventually was part of the lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security. Still to this day, I always fear that if I get deported, I will never be able to take care or see my son, my daughter, my wife, and my parents again. War has already torn families apart. Our system should not keep doing the same. Like many other Americans, I have made mistakes. But like so many other speakers today, I am more than just my conviction. This bill would recognize that I have changed my life and finally give me the relief that ensure my family and I can permanently stay together. I always believe in second chances in this country because we always make it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Now I'm going to introduce another person who's going to share her experiences. I Intabong Lopez.
Morning. Hello all. My name is Lopez. I'm 42 years old and I'm from Amarillo, Texas. I'm a wife, a mother to 4, a grandma to 2 grandsons, and I'm the daughter of refugee parents. I'm also a permanent legal resident with an order of removal. I was born in a refugee camp and in 1981 fled Laos with my parents at only 10 months old to the United States. At the age of 2 years old, we moved from Whittier, California, and resettled in Amarillo, Texas, where I have forever called home. My memories growing up in Amarillo are rooted in me. I can see the tattered and torn down neighborhood that I grew up in. I can see the graffiti and the potholes that never got repainted or repaired. I can see myself holding on to my mom's familiar hand in school at 6 years old, translating between my mom and my teacher. I could hear the voices and the chatter of the teachers who did not know how to pronounce our names or speak directly to my parents. There in that moment, I could feel the burden I knew I would have to carry for many seasons of my life as a refugee in this country. This country resettled my family with very little resources to survive. My parents struggled financially, which led me to be involved in activities that led to my conviction. Based on a non-violent conviction, I was incarcerated in 2018 and served 3 years. After I was released, I was immediately detained by ICE for 5 months. On December 10th, 2020, I was released back home to Texas with a removal order. My time incarcerated was the fiercest season of my life. My family was over 900 miles away from me. I no longer had a voice. I was no longer a woman, but an inmate tied to a number. To the U.S. government, that number became my identity. The last 4 months of my time was impacted by COVID-19. I was transported to ICE detention in Louisiana, where I experienced 2 hurricanes, got COVID, and was confined to lockdown. During that time, I also lost my mother. This was all in a matter of 5 months of being detention in ICE custody. I felt lost and felt helpless. During this time, my faith in the Lord reminded me to own my story. This bill passing will also be part of this new narrative in my life. If the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Bill is passed, this will turn my life around. I wouldn't have to live in fear of when I would get picked up. I wouldn't have to work overtime every week to make sure there are enough savings to support my kids in case I'm deported. I could even join my family during our yearly vacation outside the country, which I've always missed because of my deportation order. I urge the leaders of this country to pass this bill immediately so I and other Southeast Asian refugees like me no longer have to live in fear of being gone tomorrow.
Now, these people's lives and their experiences are very powerful and let us know why we need to pass this bill, because there are thousands and thousands of people out there just like I, just like Justin. I'm now proud to introduce and say a few words, one of the original co-sponsors and a real champion of all people in this country, my colleague, Representative Rashida.
Yeah!
For your incredible courage and speaking truth to power through the introduction of this bill, and I'm so incredibly honored to be able to co-sponsor this. Justin, thank you for humanizing. I think it's so important, especially here in the halls of Congress, that we hear the true impact of a broken immigration system, but also reminding our country that we have a fault here. We created systems and we created oppression, and we did things that we should continue to be looking in a way to rectify, but more anything, create some sort of pathway to justice, create some sort of pathway to make people, families whole. It is inhumane to separate families. It's inhumane to take Justin and I away from their children, their communities, especially when we know this is an immigration system that if we didn't look like we do, we would have a pathway. And it's true, I've seen it over and over again as a former immigration attorney, where one is treated unequal to the other, even when the circumstances are very, very similar. This broken immigration system is so inhumane and immoral that I continue to hear stories of not only when you're talking about becoming a number, but just becoming an object where even your body parts are removed from your room, and all of those things that we continue to hear. But I'll tell you, introduction of this bill is your pathway, all of you, the organizations, the fact that you had a creative freedom movement organization. This is your way to tell the story, to humanize, to make folks not forget what they did to your ancestors, not forget the fact that when you did come here, become a refugee, of course, we wrapped our arms around, but then we let go. And we didn't provide the support that was needed. I can tell you, just hearing you, Justin, being just a week away from becoming a U.S. citizen, and I always encourage my folks, do it, because you never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, how unjust is it? How unjust is it that this is a person that has been our neighbor, been among us for so long, that he is denied his mere existence among us, and it's so incredibly just wrong. We have to continue to tell our first, use Al Lowenthal's bill. Use this bill to organize, to speak truth. Start in your local community. You'd be surprised how many folks in our own communities, in the other immigrant communities, have no idea this is happening. I'll tell you this. I have sat on porches and prevented ICE from coming on there. I don't know if Ellen knows. I have been arrested and detained because I refuse to allow I used to do operations near our schools, near our even near churches and other sensitive institutions. I have seen how unjust it is to criminalize a whole immigrant community, no matter their status, including my mother, who's been a U.S. citizen for so long, continues to be profiled and discriminated against. Even as you told your story, I translated for my mom until I was 12 years old. And I still remember going up to the SEARR's counter. I don't know if you all know SEARR's. But I used to translate for her. And of course, as I go up there, the typical thing, she's telling me, ask her how much this is with this coupon. I was like, okay, and I do it. Of course, the cashier looks at me and she's like, she needs to learn English. Of course, I'm Southwest Detroit. I don't know if you know anything about Southwest. I was like, I'm 12, and I bobbed my head and I said, excuse me, but I'm not translating what you're saying to her or to me. I'm only translating what she wants to say to you, because people like you do not even give her a chance. You will yell and scream as she tries to speak English. And I just remember at that moment, because people say, where do you get your strength? I said, just for that little girl next to my parents. You know what that feeling is, of seeing the unjust, of being othered. And I remember my mom just dragging me, leaving the clothes on and saying, we can never come to this SEARR's again because of you. But I think of those moments and the fact that even among those that, of course, are being denied access to citizenship or access to be able to live their lives fully in our country, we have to remember that we're all interconnected. Like, I'm so tired of thinking that we're divided based on country. That we are all connected in this system that again continues to oppress people that look like us. So know this. I sometimes shake my head and it's hard. It's hard to see refugees from other countries come in with so much support and to see so many that have been among us being denied. And so just know that I'll continue to stand with Alan Lothal. You have a courageous person here to introduce this. And we're going to continue to speak that truth through this bill and organize in our communities. Thank you again for being vulnerable and sharing your stories. And thank you again for bringing a human face to this, for not only those in Southeast Asia, but those around our country right now that is facing similar experiences. Thank you.
We are very fortunate that now I'm going to introduce another of the co-leads who worked on this bill, who has been the champion in the House of Representatives for immigration reform for many years. And so I'm proud to introduce Representative Zoe Lockridge.
Thank you so much. I really have a deep sense of gratitude to Alan Lowenthal for stepping forward to organize this bill, and I'm proud to be a co-sponsor. We all know that in the late 70s and 1980s, the United States resettled more than 1 million Southeast Asian refugees from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Those refugees have strengthened our country. In my own hometown of San Jose, the largest Vietnamese American population of any city outside of Vietnam, those refugees built new lives, opened businesses, created economic activity, and enriched our community immensely. During the former president's term, he reversed a policy that had been in place for quite some time, which is if you fled communism, you came here as a refugee, and you committed an offense, you would not be deported back to the communist regime to be tortured. Well, we now need legislation to make sure that that policy stays in place. The loyalty that has been shown by these refugees to our country should not be ignored. Those elderly people who have committed an offense, sometimes a minor offense, have U.S. citizens, children, grandchildren, why should we take those elderly individuals and subject them to persecution by the communists, by deporting them? I'd just like to say one further thing. Our friends across the aisle sometimes try to say, well, the Democrats, socialism, blah, blah, it's a bunch of garbage.
There's not a single Republican on this bill to keep these refugees from being sent back to communist regimes to be persecuted. Let's pass this bill. Let's stand up for America, and let's stand up for these elders who deserve our protection. Thank you very much.
And now we're going to return to listening to the experiences. And we're very fortunate to have Tab Bang, and I believe Tab is with us today. So we're honored to have him speak about his
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khmer Rouge. I am a loving husband, proud father of two, and a community advocate. Since 1995, for 27 years, I have been on the list to be deported to Cambodia. I am also a refugee from war and genocide. I was 6 years old when I became a refugee. It was challenging for all of us, especially with my mother. My mother suffered PTSD due to that war. She lost her husband when the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia. We had to run for our lives with only the clothes on our backs. From there, we had to wait in the Thai refugee camp for 2 years. The condition in those camps were horrific, and I still remember them. I remember my mother's friend helping us build a hut. As a child, I remember there was so much confused and stunned people. My family and I resettled in 1983 in the United States. I was 8 years old. I had spent 2 years of my life escaping war. Growing up with that trauma and without any resources was definitely challenging. We were placed in a poor neighborhood in Providence, Rhode Island. In the early 1990s, it was pretty bad, especially when we were young poor refugees. My mother's trauma made it difficult for her to be there for us. Other older family members were unable to take care of us. Just like us, they suffer so much trauma. At the age of 13, I started hanging out with friends more frequently because there was no love or care. There were no rules at home. By the age of 17, I left home and I made a huge mistake. I got in trouble with the law and was sentenced to 6 to 8 years in state prison. After completing my sentence, I thought I was going home just like everyone else. But I was wrong. ICE immediately picked me up and sent me to many places, even Texas, far from my family. ICE detained me for another 2.5 years. I felt that I was serving a second sentence only because I was not a citizen. That right there is so wrong. It's like double punishment for me. Finally, in 1999, I was released under ICE supervision. After 23 years of being out in society, I have grown as a person. I have not once gotten into any trouble with the law since my release. I'm married to an American citizen and have 2 beautiful children together, ages 12 and 9. We own a house in Jefferson, Maine. I have to check in with ICE every year and renew my work permit annually. The work permit costs me almost $500 every year. I have no choice because in order for me to renew my driver license, I have to renew my work permit. This is very frustrating and expensive. After adapting to life in the United States for 40 years now, deportation to a country where I can't barely speak the language will be so devastating to me and my family. Just the thought of being deported at any moment makes me really depressed. My only mistake was when I was 17 years old, barely an adult. It makes me relive the trauma of being a refugee again. ICE will rip me apart from my family, and we live with this fear every single day. We have to seek counseling to deal with the stress and anxiety. This deportation will result in a negative, lasting impact for my family and many other families, which we will never recover from. Today, I use my experience to help others in a similar situation as me. I organized with the Providence Youth Student Movement in Rhode Island and Southeast Asian Freedom Network nationally to support refugees like me who have turned their lives around and deserve a second chance. The Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act would give us some relief and provide others another chance to make our lives a little better and to continue being with our community and loved ones. Thank you all.
Now we are so fortunate to have the chair, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, and a champion of progressive immigration reform, and one of the original co-sponsors of the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act. I'm honored to introduce Marmilla Shire.
Good morning, everybody. Congressman Lowenthal, thank you so much for your leadership on this issue, for seizing this and fighting for it with everything you have. We are so grateful to you. And to all the organizations, and particularly the community members who have been speaking out about your own experiences, as we just heard, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching experiences. We want to say that we are here to stand with you. We deeply appreciate your sharing your stories, and we are so heartbroken by what you've had to go through and the double jeopardy that we put so many people in. I particularly want to thank the Southeast Asia Resource Action Center, SEARR, and the Southeast Asian Freedom Network. We are gathered here today to reiterate our commitment to creating a humane and compassionate immigration system, one where we treat refugees with the honor, the respect, the dignity, and the compassion that they deserve. That includes Southeast Asian refugees, many of whom came to the United States after fleeing war and violence in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, becoming the largest community ever resettled in the United States. I am very proud of my home state of Washington. We were the first state to welcome Vietnamese refugees in 1975. Our dedication to welcoming refugees has left an indelible mark on my state, and we are better for it. But nationwide, too many refugees fleeing violence and persecution resettled in tough conditions and lacked support to overcome the trauma of war. Some of these folks made mistakes as young people, which led over 2,000 refugees to be deported and 15,000 people to live in the United States with final orders of removal, threatening to rip them apart from their families, their communities, and the only country they've ever known. One of these folks is a longtime friend of mine. Before I came to Congress, I founded the largest immigrant rights organization in Washington State. And in this role, I welcomed a wonderful human being named Khmer Rouge, a Cambodian refugee. Manny is such an inspiring human being. He had just been released from prison, and we did everything that we could to help secure his pardon from our governor and supported him in his work to fight the injustices that he experienced and to be the leader that we knew he was and is. Today, Manny is a nationally recognized advocate. He served on a statewide commission to help formerly incarcerated people with reentry, and recently became a naturalized citizen. And there are so many more like Manny who may have made a mistake and yet have worked to turn their lives around and to inspire so many others. We should be celebrating these people, not trying to deport them to a country that most of them have never really known. Welcoming doesn't end at opening the door. We need to invest resources to help people integrate so that they are thriving, not just surviving. The Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act would bring immediate relief to Southeast Asian Americans who live in daily fear of deportation. It would allow Southeast Asian Americans across the country to be able to thrive and to be treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve. And we have to do more to ensure that we are welcoming refugees fleeing violence and persecution. I'm proud to have introduced with Congressman Jimmy Garcia the New Way Forward Act, a bill that would reverse. Go ahead, yes. A bill that would reverse the harmful effects of draconian immigration laws that deny people due process, including the 1996 laws that are responsible for the steady rise in deportations of Southeast Asian Americans. Together, these bills would go a long way to restoring justice and fairness in a broken process. I'm so proud to be here today with our champion, Congressman Alan Lowenthal, to introduce this bill, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to end the inhumane targeting of Southeast Asian refugees and to fix our broken immigration laws once and for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been a very moving press conference. We've really heard from some of the leadership in the House of Representatives. We've heard from, and I think, the moving experiences. We're going to conclude with people who have lived through this horrible immigration system, who, as was pointed out, double jeopardy, served their time, and the rest of the day just for being refugees. So I would like, and this system is broken, it's terrible, it's inhumane. And I'd like to conclude today by introducing, bringing back Nancy Wynn of SEARR to say a final few words.
Hi everybody, my name is Nancy and I'm with CFIN, the Southeast Asian Freedom Network. Our ancestors are here with us today. Can you hear me? Our ancestors are here with us today.
Yeah.
I want to thank the electors for standing with us today, for the work of the last year to get us to this point. I also want to thank all the organizations, all of our people who have been fighting for the last 20 years. The Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act is the result of our elders, our parents, children, of healers, of artists, of organizers all around the country, putting their bodies, putting their lives on the line since the very first plane left with our people 2 decades ago. We all know that we are here because the United States was there. We all know that our community and all communities that have suffered deserve the right to heal, freedom from fear, and the ability to, in this generation, transform the trauma that we have been transmitted, transform the trauma that our parents were not able to transform, that our grandparents were not able to transform, that we have an opportunity, that we created this. Each generation has an opportunity to create the conditions for our own healing. And we invite we invite our elected leaders to work in partnership with us to make true what we know we all deserve.
Yeah.
But truly, this would not have happened without the partnership of so many grassroots organizations that are all around the country and that are here today, coast to coast. Our communities have not just suffered and fought, we have created, we have manifested the organizations, the religious spaces, the service organizations, the leadership building organizations to make our communities whole, because we have not waited. And we have created this opportunity for ourselves. So for everybody who is watching, this is the first step in a 20-year fight to finally have a legislative vehicle that is about our communities, that is by our communities, that is what our communities have wanted. Compassionate, common sense reforms. Extension of work authorization so folks have the right to work. Ending random ICE check-ins so folks have the right to peace. And truly a limitation on ICE deportation and detention of Southeast Asian refugees who came before 2008. Thank you so much to our elected officials. Thank you so much to everyone who's watching. We will be here. We will continue to be here. Join us.
I do apologize for not recognizing that Nancy isn't really from CFAN. But this is a coalition of many. This is the strength of the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act is really going to is based upon all of your work. The work of the people, the community that says we want a more humane system that honors refugees, honors the work that people have done, does not deport them, and so allows them once they, if they do get into problems, and provides them work, welcomes them back into the community, doesn't send them so far. That's what we really need to do. That's what America really should stand for. And I am so proud to be part of the co-sponsors and the members of the Congress who understand that the deportation of Southeast Asians has to end now. So this will conclude our press conference, but our work is not done. We have to work to get this bill passed. We have to work together. We have to demand that others in the Congress stand up and support this. So I'm calling upon everyone here to do your part in helping us make sure that the Southeast Asian Deportation Relief Act is passed immediately by this Congress. Thank you.
Lieber.